Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome to the final update of BioShock Infinite.
One of the lads will show you how to get inside. We'll be waiting for you where you come out. Shake a leg now. The Lord hates a laggard.
Oh hey, Loom. Dreams about better games. Apparently that's the right way to go, so let's just take a quick look around here first. Hit UNATCO time. Yeah, looks like there actually isn't anywhere else to go around here, so we might as well head into the back of this news stall. I forget what they would call those things. But apparently there's a free clinic hidden back here. Don't know what that's all about. And this is why the big daddies you will see in BioShock 1 will not have the shootable drill option. Yeah, I guess that was like a back door into this area. It's a bit confusing though. And that's obviously something we should be able to select, but we can't. At least not right now. Yeah, more of this stuff about imprinting. Talked at enough length about that. Ah, Vita Chamber. Must be tuned to Andrew Ryan's specific genetic frequency. You think that might mean that Andrew Ryan isn't actually dead? Like if they ever decided to make a sequel? I mean another sequel.
Alright. Let's see here what we could do.
Scary. Stay away from him. He's scary.
Look, it's okay. He can't hurt anyone.
Scary.
Yeah, we got that.
Can you move? Can you just move a little bit for me? I don't know how to help you. I don't. No, he's just hurt. He just needs somebody to figure out how to fix him. Maybe there's some, I don't know. Is there some documentation for him around here or something? Right. Look who I'm asking.
Okay, so maybe now we can read all of those very well highlighted clipboards.
Encoded. Big Daddy will not imprint. If not imprint, what good is he to little sister? She no like him. He no like her. Situation is impasse. Unacceptable.
Why would he write in broken English? No goddamn causality. There's the bottle with her hair in it, by the way.
If stupid beasts had half brain, they would realize they need little sister to live. Sisters secrete only kind of atom that is genetic match for them. No little sister, no big daddy.
Well, I guess we've learned enough then. But I did miss this on the way in.
Sutron, what the hell were you thinking? Drinkable plasmids? We're burning through 10 times the amount of atom compared to the injectables. And if you fail to notice, them sea slugs ain't exactly growing on trees. switch back to the injectables, and let the eggheads in marketing worry about selling it to the chumps.
And that's why there are injectables in the future of BioShock 1.
Scary, 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 scary.
I've got to do something.
Big monster sick. Big monster
It's okay.
sick.
It's okay, please. I don't know how to help him. He needs Adam. I don't have any of that. I don't know what to
Monster's
do.
going to die. Not fair. We can help. Help.
Really need alcohol for that kind of injection.
Lion with the thorn in its paw.
Sure, why not? By the way, there's no combat in the rest of this game. It's all gonna be stuff like that from here on out. Now, what do we have here? Something Ryan should hear.
Is that your puppy? She's very pretty.
Thank you, Papa Sushon.
Break her neck for me.
What?
Break that sweet puppy's neck.
No, please.
Break that puppy's neck. Would you kindly?
No. No.
Very good.
Well, that's lovely. Apparently this is where the protagonist of the first game spent most of his days.
Clinical trial. Protector system. Plasmid 255. Dr. Suchong. Client Ryan Industries. Very frustrating day. I can't seem to get the damn big daddies to imprint on the little brats. The protection bond is just not for me. Get on it. Maybe if I modify the genetic sequence to... Sure. Sequence to allow for... Get away, you fitty little shit! What are you doing? Get back! Get back!
Well, that was rather sudden.
There's the ace. This is it. This is the ace in the hole. All the pain and all of the death for this.
So here's a question. If imprinting hasn't happened until just now, then why did Mr. Bubbles defend What's-Her-Face in the first DLC? Susie, I think? Yeah, why did that happen? Like, even if he was just being aggressive in general, why did she give him the cute name Mr. Bubbles if she and him were not imprinted on each other yet?
Hey, sister. Over here. Do you have it?
I have it.
Give it over then. I'm keen to get this brat off me hands.
You know what? Andrew Ryan said I was a rube. But he was wrong. I'm not the rube, Atlas. You are. Now, we both know what happens next. Just get it over with.
Well, love, if you insist.
Well, at least he did it personally. For whatever that's worth. I don't think I have control over myself in here, by the way.
What is this? It's just a bunch of gibberish. What does this say, you little whore? Hey! What does this say?
It says, would you kindly?
We've got the activation phrase. Now all we've got to do is get that genetic freak of nature on an airplane and rapture's ours. Yeah!
I chose rapture.
A slave obeys.
They say to save one life is to save the world entire. It is you who are the savior.
You little nothing!
I can see all the doors. And what's behind all the doors. And behind one of them, incredibly, I see him.
Dans ses bras, elle me parle tout bas. Je vois la vie en rosa. Il m'a dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours. Et ça me fait quelque chose.
Part de bonheur dont je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, l'a juré pour la vie.
And so the circle is complete. And apparently everybody died in 2 games in order to save the lives of a bunch of little girls. Can't really say if that's a morally viable exchange, but it's, well, honestly, it's not a decision I'd want to be in charge of anyway. So, during the credits, I normally like to say a few words about the game itself, but I've said words about this game twice before, and although the DLC adds more questions that will never be answered within the game itself, There's really no new objections that I haven't raised yet before. And so I'll just remain silent for the rest of the credits and allow you to enjoy some of the songs that they've got going here. And if you'd rather just skip ahead to the final corner, then jump ahead to 23 minutes and 28 seconds. And I will see you there. As for the rest of you, enjoy the music.
You ready?
Yep.
See the pyramids along the Nile. Watch the sunrise from a tropic isle. Just remember, darling, all the while you belong to me. See the marketplace in old Algiers. Send me photographs and souvenirs. Just remember, when a dream appears, you belong to me. And I'll be so alone without you. Maybe you'll be lonesome too, and blue. Fly the ocean in a silver plane. See the jungle when it's wet with rain. Just remember, till you're home again, you belong to me. I'll be so alone without you. Maybe you'll be lonesome too, and blue. Fly the ocean in a silver plane. See the jungle when it's wet with rain. Just remember, till you're home again, you belong to me.
Great.
Yeah?
I think we got it.
Can I clap?
Always hot and hurried like a rat in a race. Life can fly by at such a frantic pace. Need to freeze the moment, put your worries on ice. We got a plasma for you, that's just the spice. Chill out, relax, be cooler than the coolest cats. When things heat up, don't be a fool. With Old Man Winter you can keep your cool.
Feeling hot under the collar? Stay frosty with the plasmid that lets you enjoy life at a cool pace. Turn down the heat and turn up the ease and relaxation with Old Man Winter from Ryan Industries.
Keep your cool with Old Man Winter.
You know, I feel like I've been building up to this particular literature corner since before Atlas Shrugged was even vaguely relevant. But then I suppose this lecture series has always had a certain overarching theme of cooperation and competition. The conflicts that defined humanity's history. The times when the masses rose up either to raise the overall dignity of our species, or else to ruin the lives of others. Conflict defines a story, you know? Cooperation and competition, they aren't opposed. They're complementary. The people who are willing to find friends in the strangest of places are the same people who will generate a self-centered controversy or give themselves to a higher cause in order to fight in a larger, more meaningful battle, whether that battle be literal or figurative. So let's now delve into a book written by a woman who somehow managed to grasp this fact about humanity, and yet missed the point of it altogether. The story, such as it is. Every dystopian work starts with the same premise. What if blank managed to take over the world? The novel We is about the extremes of collectivism with completely transparent residences so that no one has any privacy, the use of numbers in place of names, and a government that interferes in everything down to assigning sexual partners. Notably, We was written by a Russian during the Bolshevik Revolution and the Russian Civil War, and the book was banned in the USSR until 1988. Setting that aside, Brave New World's premise was, what if early 20th century futurists took over the world? and the book pointed out some pretty chilling implications about the utopian visions of early science fiction authors like H.G. Wells. Like how population control would basically have to be enforced by banning reproductive sex entirely, and having a Plato's Republic-style caste system in which everyone's profession is predetermined and immutable would require brainwashing everyone into avoiding critical thinking in order to accept their lots in life. The book Fahrenheit 451 is about what if the censors win, and the movie Brazil is what if the bureaucracy wins. In fact, its name is a reference to a time when, in Brazil, the bureaucracy actually did take over for a little while. As for 1984, well, it's dressed up to make you think its question is what if communism won, but that's not entirely accurate. The reason why 1984 resonates so well is because its actual premise is this: what if authoritarianism wins? The book is haunting and disturbingly true to life because authoritarianism has won in many countries. It continues to win, and if we take our eyes off the wheel for even a second, it will also easily take over democratic governments as well. To quote George Orwell, "If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever." Since Atlas Shrugged is a dystopian novel, the question becomes, what is its premise? Who has won? John Galt would tell you that the ones who won are essentially those who follow the Apollonian philosophy, those who prefer to obsess over death, dignity, and self-denial, as opposed to the Dionysians who care about life, love, and self-indulgence. But having read the book for myself, I'm not so sure the plot lives up to what Ayn Rand's mouthpiece claims. Instead, I'd say the premise is closer to, what if the leftist pseudo-philosophers whom Ayn Rand had to work with in Hollywood, and who thought that the USSR model was actually functional, somehow managed to become the business and political leaders of the whole world? The novel is set during Next Sunday AD. Next Sunday 1957, mind you, that being the year the book was published. And apparently, there's a severe shortage of people who can actually get things done. Competent workers, business executives, and artists all seem to be quitting their jobs and vanishing overnight without a single word of explanation. In their place are whiners and complainers who claim to be acting in the name of social well-being, but who are actually using that as an excuse to wield the government against their enemies. Except that they seem to honestly believe that what they're saying and what they're doing is the same thing. I'll get into that later. The perspective is third-person omniscient, and it jumps around a lot between different characters, but for the most part, the book follows two protagonists. Dagny Taggart, the woman who's basically in charge of the last major railroad company, and Hank Reardon, the man who built the world's foremost steel manufacturer and who personally invented an alloy which is to steel what steel is to iron. As the book progresses, the protagonists try, but ultimately fail, to stop the world's backslide into a dark age as the looters, as the book calls them, basically tear everything down in an attempt to either profit off of other people's hard work or else shut down their superior competitors before their inferior companies are forced out of the market. There's also a second plot, which follows the protagonist's attempts to try and find out what happened to all of their colleagues and either make up for their absence or else figure out how to get them back from wherever it is they went. It takes a lot of doing, specifically the majority of a 1,000-page book, but eventually they track down the people they're looking for and discover Galt's Gulch, a community formed by John Galt after he decided to begin a strike of the world's true business leaders and innovators. This act is what gives the book its title. The world relies upon Atlas to keep the heavens suspended above the sky, but the world also takes him for granted. So what would happen if Atlas shrugged and gave up? Also worth noting, the sentence, "Who is John Galt?" is, in universe, equivalent to saying, "Why ask stupid questions?" since apparently nobody knows who John Galt is anymore. Anyway, towards the end of the book, Taggart returns to New York City having refused to join Galt's strike, and in response, Galt follows her and hacks the radio waves, all of them, to deliver an 80-page speech about objectivism. An 80-page speech. 80 fucking pages. A full 8% of an extremely long book. The authorities eventually find Galt and start torturing him for bringing the plot to a screeching halt, but Taggart, along with Galt's associates, eventually rescue him and smuggle him back to the Gulch. The novel ends with Galt eagerly anticipating all the profits he'll be able to make once the government finishes collapsing. The analysis. Ayn Rand doesn't get much respect within the philosophical community, and at this point, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. I mean, there are plenty of still respected philosophers out there who have committed dialectic sins, like starting with false premises and intentionally building an argument to justify their pet beliefs. But at least they managed to maintain a consistent idea for a single paper. What really gets to me about Atlas Shrugged is how every character is so hypocritical. Not just the looters, mind you, who are supposed to be hypocrites. Everyone says one thing but means something else. I feel like I shouldn't use hypocrisy as a pejorative after I've pointed out that everybody does it, but then I wouldn't have a problem if one of the book's themes was humans are all inconsistent. However, 1, that's not one of the themes, and 2, the characters are not humans. They're cardboard cutouts, sock puppets, mouthpieces, and straw men. As bad as BioShock Infinite is about writing the plot first, Atlas Shrugged is even worse. Here's an example for it. The good characters are those who are willing to admit to themselves and to others that they want a lot of money, and that the proper measure of success is net worth. Except, that's not true. That's not why they do what they do. Early on in the book, back when there was still a faint hope that society could be salvaged, Taggart and Reardon collaborate on a new rail line that uses Reardon's new alloy. They have to go through a lot of trouble to get the line finished, since the official word is that the alloy is untrustworthy and likely to fail, and as they're finishing constructing a bridge that no one thinks will hold, there's a moment where Dagny Taggart thinks to herself that she would trade away all her money and all her influence just to stay in that instant when the bridge is completed. Later on, there's another moment when her brother, the official head of Taggart Trains, manages to get the company even more money by manipulating government regulations in order to put their competition out of business. This act doesn't win him any respect whatsoever. Clearly then, the good people don't actually hold wealth as the highest of ideals, but rather it's that sense of accomplishment, of knowing that you won, and you won fair and square without any cheating or trickery. This emotion is more valuable than physical resources, and the main protagonist says so herself. And yet, even after the book admits this, she and the others like her continue to insist that the fact that they are openly greedy is a virtue. While I'll certainly agree that open greed is more honest than secret greed, their opposition states that there are things more valuable than money, and apparently Ayn Rand herself agrees. And here's another bit of hypocrisy. Soon after the railroad line is built, Hank Reardon and Dagny Taggart start an affair. Dagny isn't married, but Hank is. And while he's admittedly stuck in a loveless marriage with a woman who regularly tries to emotionally manipulate him, Hank has a very strange view on what constitutes a breach of contract. Maybe it's because Rand wrote this in the 1950s, but apparently, despite the fact that Hank views his marriage as a contract, he doesn't seem to realize that because he's having an affair, he has broken the terms of that particular contract, and it is time for it to end. Instead, he doggedly sticks with his marriage, and quite naturally makes himself and everyone around him more miserable than they have to be. Now, one of the biggest complaints I have about this book, and about Rand's assumptions in general, is that it seems to go by the great man theory of history. The idea that the world is studded with uniquely exceptional and irreplaceable people, and as such, if the names in our history and science textbooks were to vanish, so would the impact of their discoveries, their inventions, and their social and political movements. But that's not true. And I've been saying that it's not true throughout this entire lecture series. Individuals do not create social and political changes. Societies and polities do. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't forge the civil rights movement. The mechanization and urbanization of the South did. If Christopher Columbus hadn't gone on his mad voyage, or if he hadn't run into a Caribbean island, the Portuguese would have discovered Brazil regardless. If Edison's company hadn't invented the first practical light bulb, then one of the many people whose patents his company bought would have. If the Wright brothers hadn't taken flight in 1903, Alberto Santos Dumont still would have made his flight in 1906. Major inventions like writing, electricity, and firearms are always collaborative efforts between hundreds of people across dozens of nations. And for every innovator who gets the credit for either being the first or for being the first to commercialize, there's an endless number of competitors who weren't quite as clever or as quick. And if the first person hadn't been first, then one of the many runners-up would have taken his place. For crying out loud, Alexander Graham Bell had to literally race to the patent office in order to become the man who invented the telephone. This is in stark contrast to the world of Atlas Shrugged, in which such innovators are in short supply, and if they were to vanish, then nobody would be able to take their place. Hank Reardon keeps his alloy a trade secret instead of patenting it because apparently the government isn't trustworthy enough to guarantee such a patent, and his competition is so far behind him that he doesn't have to worry about someone else inventing it independently. He also somehow managed to find extra iron in the exhausted mines of northern Minnesota. And another innovator, Ellis Wyatt, did the same thing with dry oil wells in Colorado. Apparently, resources are only finite because the industries that extract them eventually stop trying hard enough. Sure, that's how it works. John Galt himself develops an engine that magically runs on ambient static electricity. And he was also so far ahead of his peers that after he destroyed his engine and his notes when he began his strike, there was apparently nobody left in the world who could possibly have duplicated his results. And I'm sorry, but inventors have never been that far ahead of their field. Tesla, for instance, made his fortune thanks to an alternating current engine that was better than its competitors. Not unique, just better. And the stuff he discovered after that point was either too impractical for then modern technology to exploit, and was therefore a non-commercial discovery, or it was a complete misinterpretation of his experimental results. Even Einstein's theory of relativity and Darwin's theory of evolution were based on very similar pre-existing works. I could keep going. I could keep going. Like about how the government has no characterization beyond being this distant, menacing thing, or how Dagny personifies this odd idea Rand has about how a healthy, intimate relationship apparently involves having the woman submit herself completely to a more powerful man. But I'm running out of time, and, well, this is the end. There's no more time to be had after this, and I wouldn't want to keep you. So let's just move on to the final segment. Personal thoughts. Atlas Shrugged was written for me. For people like me. People of above-average intelligence who prefer devoting their time to doing things instead of socializing. People with an inherent sense of fairness who prefer to lose by the rules rather than win by cheating. people who don't use a low-paying job as an excuse to slack off. All of those statements describe me, and yet I cannot accept any of Ayn Rand's conclusions. Let me put modesty aside for a moment. I consider myself a good writer, a very good writer, who can produce works that are decidedly better than authors who have been published. I have a natural talent for writing, and I have been honing my skills for nearly 10 years now. I deserve success. I deserve the money I'm getting through Patreon for creating these videos and other works, and honestly, I'd say I deserve more. I certainly deserve more money than what I'm currently getting from my other jobs, writing drivel for internet content mills. But what I deserve doesn't matter. Talent and skill don't matter. I'm not going to get anything just because I deserve it. Life is too unfair, too complicated for that. Too full of people who also deserve money, support, and attention, and not one of us is going to change our fate by being envious or dismissive of those who have succeeded, fairly or otherwise. I may be the one who created this lecture series, but I am not the one who made it relevant. I am not the one who drives the view count or changes people's opinions. You are. If I accomplish anything, now or in the future, it's only because you watched my videos or read my novels. You sent me feedback, and you gave me enough money each month to pay my bills. I am, in a very literal sense, nothing without you. And with that in mind, now seems like a pretty good time for me to hand out some thank yous. First of all, a general thank you to everyone who decided to follow the Something Awful thread or else subscribe to my YouTube channel. Even if you only watch parts of my videos and never comment, and even if this is the only part of any video of mine you ever watch, thank you for at least doing that much. Like I just said, an author is nothing without his audience. Next, I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters for, amazingly enough, thinking that what I produce is worth money. Some have come and some have gone since I first started a page there, but here's the list as of this recording. Allopatry, Sebastian Sands, Shai Ni, Andre Mihai, Simon Christensen, Vectus, Arthur R. Dwornikek, Ithon, Drizmi, Ari Amaki, Siseg August, Julia Robinson, Stephen Grant, NCJ, Terrence Cole, Evaxon, Eugenio Triana, Josh, Chris Gilmore, Cody Spence, Ian McClellan, The Book Thief, Ewan Perry, and Jason Dennett. And as usual for this sort of thing, Blanket, please forgive me if I mispronounced your name. Finally, I'd like to give my special thanks to the following 3 people. Michael Nightingale, thank you for both being a patron and for being dissatisfied with some of my lectures. Your input has made them stronger as a result. Tony Chang on YouTube, thank you for being my biggest fan by probably a wide margin. I have no idea why you think my videos are worth all the praise you hand out, but I'm flattered just the same. Finally, I'd like to thank YouTube user Maintenance Renegade for being my devil's advocate. I don't agree with a lot of what you have to say, but I appreciate that you take the time to comment on my videos and challenge what I have to say, because it's impossible to form a decent argument unless you're willing to engage in a lively debate. I may not have said as much before, but a lot of the points I make in my lectures are based directly on the conversations we've had. And that's it. We're done. I feel like I should thank everyone again just before we go, so there it is. As for my next project, well, let's just say I'm not quite finished with noir just yet. I hope I'll see you there.